Have you ever stood in the produce aisle, grabbed a bundle of fresh basil or mint, used a pinch for one recipe, and watched the rest slowly wilt in the fridge? That is a frustration almost every home gardener knows. But what if I told you those grocery store herbs could become an unlimited supply of fresh flavor and all you need is a glass of water? After growing herbs for over 2 decades, I have found 12 herbs that root beautifully from store-bought cuttings right on your windowsill. And stick around because number 8 on this list is one most people never think to try, and I have got a bonus tip at the end that is going to make every single cutting you take root faster. First up on our list is basil, and honestly, if you have never tried regrowing herbs in water before, this is the absolute best place to start. Basil is like the golden retriever of herbs. It is eager, forgiving, and it roots faster than almost anything else you can put in a glass. Head to the grocery store and grab a bundle of fresh basil. You want stems that look lively, not wilted or browning. When you get home, trim each stem to about 4 to 6 inches long and snip it just below a leaf node. That is the little bump on the stem where leaves grow out. Pull off the lower leaves so nothing is sitting underwater and pop those stems into a clear glass or jar of room temperature water. Set it on a bright windowsill, and within 5 to 10 days, you are going to see white roots shooting out. It is honestly one of the most satisfying things to watch. Once those roots are about 2 inches long, you can either keep growing them in water or transplant into a small pot with well-draining potting mix. Sweet basil and Genovese basil are fantastic varieties to look for at the store because they root reliably and give you that classic flavor you want for pesto, caprese, and pasta. Just remember to change the water every 2 to 3 days to keep it fresh and prevent any sliminess. The second herb I want to share with you is mint, and let me tell you, this one is almost impossible to mess up. If basil is the easiest herb to root in water, mint is a very close second. Any variety you find at the grocery store will work. Spearmint and peppermint are the most common, and both of them root like absolute champs. Take your fresh mint bundle, trim stems down to about 5 inches, strip the bottom leaves, and place them in water just like you did with the basil. Mint is aggressive in the best possible way. You will often see roots forming within just 3 to 4 days. Here is a little tip with mint though. Once it starts rooting, it is going to want to grow and grow and grow. Mint is famously vigorous, so if you eventually transplant it into soil, consider keeping it in its own container rather than putting it in a garden bed where it can take over everything. But for a windowsill water garden, mint is perfect. You get endless fresh leaves for tea, mojitos, salads, and garnishes. Bundle from the store can literally turn into a year-round supply. Number 3 is a personal favorite of mine, and that is rosemary. Now, I am going to be honest with you. Rosemary is a little more patient of a process than basil or mint. It is a woody herb, so it takes longer to push out roots, sometimes 3 to 4 weeks. But trust me on this one, it is absolutely worth the wait. When you pick up rosemary at the grocery store, look for the freshest bundle you can find. You want pliable, green stems, not dried-out sticks. Trim about a 5 to 6 inch cutting from the tip of a stem, strip the lower 2 inches of needles, and place it in your water glass. Rosemary likes warmth and bright, indirect light, so give it a good sunny spot. The key with rosemary is patience and clean water. Change the water every 2 days without fail. Once you see roots that are an inch or 2 long, you can pot it up into sandy, well-draining soil. Rosemary does not like wet feet, so a terracotta pot with a drainage hole is ideal. Varieties like Tuscan Blue or ARP are wonderful if you can find them, but honestly, whatever your grocery store carries will work just fine. The payoff here is huge because fresh rosemary is one of the most expensive herbs to buy per ounce, and a single rooted cutting can give you a plant that lasts for years. Now, what I've been sharing with you today are some of my favorite herbs to regrow, but they are really just a taste of what is possible. I put together a complete guide called the 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Garden Protocol. It takes everything I know about growing food from kitchen scraps and organizes it into a day-by-day plan that anyone can follow. It covers which scraps actually regrow successfully and which ones people waste their time on. It walks you through the setup so you get it right from day one. And it gives you a complete 30-day calendar, so there is no guesswork involved. Click the link in the description right below this video. Just scroll down a little and you will see it. Or if you are watching on a television or a computer screen, take out your phone, open up your camera like you are going to take a picture, and hold it up to the QR code on screen right now. A little link will pop up at the top of your phone screen. Just tap that, and it will take you right to the guide. No typing, no searching. Either way works. I honestly think it is the best thing you can do for your garden this season. All right, let us keep going. The fourth herb we are diving into is cilantro. And I know this one can be divisive, but if you are a cilantro lover, this is going to make your day. Cilantro is a little different from the others because it does not root from a single stem, cutting the same way basil does. What you want to do is grab a bunch with the stems still intact and relatively long. Trim the stems and place the bottom inch or two in water. Cilantro will push out small white roots, usually within about a week to 10 days. The trick with cilantro is that it bolts quickly in warm weather, so keeping it indoors in water on a cooler windowsill actually works in your favor. It stays in leaf production mode longer. Once rooted, you can transplant it to a pot of moist potting mix and keep harvesting the outer leaves. Slow bolt varieties like Calypso or Santo are great if your store carries them. Even if you just get a couple of extra harvests from that $1 bundle, you have already come out way ahead. Coming in at number 5, we have got thyme, and this little herb is an absolute powerhouse in the kitchen. Thyme roots a bit more slowly than basil or mint, but it is very doable in water. Grab a fresh bundle from the store, cut stems about 4 to 5 inches long, and strip the tiny leaves from the bottom 2 inches. Place them in a small glass with just enough water to cover the bare stems. Thyme likes a bright spot, but does not need direct scorching sunlight. In about 2 to 3 weeks, you should see delicate roots forming. Once they are established, thyme does best transplanted into a gritty, well-draining soil mix. It is a Mediterranean herb, so it prefers things on the drier side. English thyme and French thyme are the varieties you will most commonly find at grocery stores, and both are excellent for rooting. A single rooted thyme plant can keep producing for years, so this is a fantastic long-term investment from a $2 grocery store purchase. The 6th herb on our list is oregano, and if you love Italian cooking, you need to try this one. Oregano roots in water very similarly to thyme. Take fresh stems about 4 to 6 inches long, strip the lower leaves, and set them in a glass of clean water in a bright window. Oregano tends to root in about 2 weeks, sometimes a little faster if conditions are warm. The roots are fine and delicate at first, so be gentle when you eventually transplant. Greek oregano and Italian oregano are the varieties you will most commonly encounter, and both are wonderful for cooking. Once established, oregano is one of the hardiest herbs you can grow. It is perennial in USDA zones 5 through 10 and can survive a surprising amount of neglect. That means your one grocery store cutting can become a thriving plant that comes back year after year if you eventually move it outdoors. The flavor of fresh oregano compared to dried is night and day, so this one is truly a game changer for your kitchen. Now, here's where it gets really fun. Number 7 is sage, and this one surprises a lot of people because they do not realize you can root it in water. But you absolutely can. Pick up a fresh bundle of sage at the store, trim stems to about 4 to 5 inches, remove the lower leaves, and pop them in water. Sage takes a bit of patience, usually about 3 to 4 weeks to develop roots, similar to rosemary. It prefers a warm, bright spot. The leaves are a little fuzzy, which can sometimes trap moisture and cause issues, so make sure no leaves are submerged in the water. Just the bare stem should be underwater. Change the water every couple of days to keep things fresh. Once rooted, sage does beautifully in a pot with well-draining soil. Common garden sage is what you will typically find at the store, and it is perfect for rooting. Fresh sage is incredible in butter sauces, stuffing, and with roasted squash. One rooted cutting gives you a beautiful, fragrant plant that can last for years. The 8th herb on this list is lemongrass. And this is the one I teased earlier because most people walk right past it at the grocery store without ever realizing it is one of the easiest things you can regrow and water. Look for lemongrass stalks in the produce section, often near the specialty or Asian herbs. You want stalks that still have the base intact, that thick, bulbous bottom. And trim the top portion down to about 6 inches, peel off any dry outer layers, and place the stalks base down in a glass with about an inch of water. Set it in a warm, sunny spot, and just watch what happens. Within a week, you will see new green shoots emerging from the top and roots growing out the bottom. It is honestly amazing how fast lemongrass takes off. Once the roots are a few inches long, you can transplant to a pot with rich, moist soil. Lemongrass is a tropical plant, so it loves warmth and humidity. It is hardy outdoors in USDA zones 9 through 11, but it does wonderfully as a potted plant you bring indoors for winter in cooler zones. Fresh lemongrass is incredible in soups, teas, curries, and stir-fries, and a single stalk from the store can multiply into a huge clump. Number 9 is lemon balm. And if you love herbal tea, you are going to absolutely fall in love with this herb. Lemon balm is in the mint family, so it shares that same enthusiasm for growing. Find a fresh bundle at the store, though I will admit this one can be a little trickier to find than basil or mint. Some well-stocked grocery stores and specialty markets carry it. Trim your stems to about 5 inches, strip the lower leaves, and place in water. Lemon balm roots in about 1 to 2 weeks, and once it gets going, it grows with real vigor. The leaves have this beautiful bright lemon scent and flavor that is wonderful for tea, cocktails, and even desserts. Once rooted and transplanted, lemon balm is perennial in USDA zones 3 through 7 and is incredibly low maintenance. Fair warning though, just like its cousin mint, lemon balm can spread aggressively. So a container is your best bet if you do not want it taking over your garden beds. The 10th herb we are looking at is tarragon, specifically French tarragon, and this is one of the more underrated herbs you can regrow. French tarragon has a distinctive anise-like flavor that is essential in classic French cooking. If you can find fresh tarragon at the grocery store, grab it. Trim stems to about 4 to 5 inches, strip the bottom leaves, and place in water. Tarragon roots at a moderate pace, usually about 2 to 3 weeks. It prefers bright, indirect light and does not like being too hot. Once rooted, transplant to a pot with loose, well-draining soil. French tarragon is hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8 and is perennial, so it will come back for you each year. The flavor of fresh tarragon in chicken dishes, vinaigrettes, and béarnaise sauce is something dried tarragon simply cannot replicate. Coming in at number 11 is marjoram, and this gentle herb deserves so much more attention than it gets. Marjoram is closely related to oregano, but has a sweeter, more delicate flavor that works beautifully in soups, stews, and roasted vegetables. Find a fresh bundle at the store. Take cuttings about 4 to 5 inches long, strip the lower leaves, and place them in water. Marjoram roots in about 2 to 3 weeks and appreciates a warm, sunny windowsill. Once the roots are established, pot it up in well-draining soil. Sweet marjoram is the variety you will most commonly find, and it is wonderful. It is hardy in USDA zones 7 through 9 as a perennial, but in cooler zones, you can grow it as an annual or keep it indoors. Marjoram is one of those herbs that once you start cooking with it fresh, you wonder how you ever went without it. The 12th and final herb on our list is stevia. And yes, you can actually regrow this natural sweetener from grocery store cuttings. Stevia is becoming more common in the fresh herb section, and if you spot it, definitely grab a bundle. Take 4 to 5 inch stem cuttings, remove the lower leaves, and place them in water on a bright windowsill. Stevia usually roots in about 1 to 2 weeks. Once rooted, transplant to a pot with rich, moist potting mix. Stevia loves warmth and full sun. It is hardy in USDA zones 9 through 11, but grows beautifully as a potted annual in cooler zones. Here's the fun part. A single fresh stevia leaf is incredibly sweet, about 30 to 40 times sweeter than sugar by weight. You can pluck leaves and drop them straight into tea or lemonade for a natural sweetener with 0 calories. Growing your own stevia is genuinely one of the coolest things you can do from a single grocery store cutting. All right, now here's a bonus tip that is going to change the game for you. If you want every single one of these cuttings to root faster and stronger, here is the secret. Use a clear glass so you can monitor root development, but wrap the outside of the glass with a piece of dark paper or fabric. Roots naturally grow better in darkness. In nature, roots are underground and away from light. When you block light from hitting the water and the developing roots, you reduce algae growth in the water, and you encourage the cutting to push out roots more aggressively. I have tested this side by side over the years, and cuttings in light-blocked glasses consistently root faster and develop thicker, healthier root systems. It takes 10 seconds to wrap a piece of construction paper around your glass, and the results are genuinely noticeable. Try it with your next batch of cuttings and see for yourself. Thanks for sticking around to the end. What I have walked you through today gives you a strong foundation, but it is still just one part of the bigger picture. If you are serious about turning your kitchen scraps into a real producing garden, I would encourage you to check out the guide I put together. It is called the 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Garden Protocol. It is everything I have figured out about kitchen scrap gardening, laid out in a day-by-day plan you can start right away. It covers which scraps are genuinely worth regrowing and which ones to skip. It gives you the complete setup method, so nothing is left to chance. And it includes the full 30-day schedule, so you always know exactly what comes next. There are 2 easy ways to get it. The first is to click the link in the description right below this video. Just scroll down a little, and you will see it. The second way, if you are watching on a television or a computer screen, is to take out your phone, open up your camera like you are going to take a picture, and hold it up to the QR code you see on screen right now. A little link will pop up at the top of your phone screen. Just tap that, and it will bring you right to the guide. No typing, no searching. Either way works. I think it is the best investment you can make in your garden this year. Now get out there and grow something amazing.